Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of HR to CHRO Podcast. And today we have Miss Deepali Rajani with us. She started her career with Capgemini, then she was in Wipro, and then currently she is HR head at Syngenta. So, welcome, Deepali. Thanks for giving us time.
Thank you. Thank you, Amit. Nice to be here.
So, you look so young and you became an HR head in 13, 14 years' time within your career, which is slightly on the faster trajectory. But before I come to that, I want to ask you why HR? Why did you decide to have a career in HR?
Interesting question. Look, when we were doing MBA in the first semester, I've done MBA from Symbiosis Institute of Management Studies. So, in the first semester, you can look across all marketing, operations, finance, and HR, right? Interestingly, during that time when you figure and when we were studying everything, but HR called up to me the most because I think somewhere we understood that the kind of conversations that one can have, the kind of change you can make to a people career, right? Um, the trajectories, confidence, and someone's sense of belonging at work. So when these things were there in the subjects, in our conversations, in our discussions that we had in the classroom, I knew HR was my calling. It is deceptively hard, actually, but people think it's soft, right? And it's one of the most complex, functions to be in
Right.
because it deals with humans, and we think human at no point in time can be predictable, sir. So it's one of the most complex variables that we deal with, and it's one of the most complex. So the challenge has really excited me.
Right. So you realize that it's very challenging after you joined HR, and then it invigorated or made it more interesting, so that you started having fun also in that.
Absolutely. I think, see, I'm a strong believer of the fact that, at least for me, I didn't look at what I enjoy. I started doing and I started enjoying. Right. So when I was studying, I was very much open. But as I progressed, I went into the real world. Whatever I did, I enjoyed. And I think the secret to my success would also be there with that, because whatever was thrown my way, I picked that up as a challenge and I really enjoyed what I do. I till date enjoy what I do a lot in HR.
Very nice. So you said it's deceptively hard and complex because machines can be predicted, manufacturing can be predicted. Animals are more predictable than humans because because they don't have that emotional baggage which humans have. So would you like to share some examples on how it was deceptively hard, those complex situations, and how did you come out of it? And so that our young listeners, they also get a feel of how it actually happens in the real world.
See, one of the things you started with, you said you look young, you reached a certain, that itself is complex, right? We are used to thinking in a certain fashion. And if you're looking at mindset changes, which could be for yourself or the human population that you're in charge of, it is one of the most difficult, right? How do you bring culture of learning? How do you bring culture of thinking about a growth mindset? How do you bring agility into learning AI? Right? AI is percolating everywhere, but today's current challenge is how do you bring up people to that capability of AI? And most of us are still stuck in, I used to do things like that.
Correct.
Now imagine the complexity of that challenge, because the world is changing at a much faster rate than what we are supposed to be. The humans are responding to it at a slower rate, right? Um, so I think it's not just hard in one place; it's across the board. Now, for us to really understand what are those challenges that we want to pick and solve, we can't solve everything, but there are some strategic priorities that HR should pick up for themselves, considering what the external markets are talking, considering what the business is talking, and then really address that. Because any change which is either you achieve certain numbers or you don't, humans are responsible for it.
Correct.
And we are the backbone or the enablers to bring that human potential to life.
Very perfect. Correct. So you are making it sound so interesting and attractive, the HR career. So I'll also say that I was just talking to another CHRO. And she said that now the AI and the changes, the complexity of the situation. So HR is the one, CHROs are now also responsible for digital transformation, or increasingly they are becoming responsible for digital transformation because they are the ones who can help people at large adopt this change. So will you say that this is the best time for uh,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think for HR, we are at a cross section of human potential and AI, right? So technology and human potential. Now, AI can't work on its own. We've given that, right? So let's move out of the thing who's going to lose jobs, etc. That's not happening. AI to be used in an ethical way, AI to be used in a data centric way, human potential is required. And I totally agree to the CHR that you were talking to. We are the gap which can bring the mindsets of the people to quickly adapt to the change of the world that's happening.
correct?
And I think it's a most challenging and a lot of opportunities for us as a function. Correct. See, if you see back a couple of years behind, we were very operational, so somebody told us and we went and did that.
Correct.
That's where HR was, right? And till date you hear certain jokes of saying if you want rangoli you go to HR, but potentially if you check the last 10 years HR has moved away from that. We are acknowledged and called business HR for a reason, right? And why? Because we do make important decisions, at the same time enable the correct talent, provide the correct capabilities to unleash the business uh, KPIs or priorities or wins that are there, right? So I think for us as a holistic community, we've come a long way, and I think it's only growth from here.
Correct. And like you right, is as a holistic, because see, all the other departments, they have tunnel vision. They're only focused on their own KPIs, KRS. It's only HR who have a three, maybe apart from CEO. It's only the HR who have the the 360-degree view and how small things in one area are going to affect. So they are the really the ones who can bring in helping ushering this change.
Absolutely.
Very nice. So, you said that secret of success, one of the secrets of success is that you enjoy what you do, which is so very powerful. And if every human being learns that skill, then it itself. So, in our mind programming techniques, we use brain rewiring techniques to enable people to ensure that their brain starts releasing positive chemicals like serotonin, dopamine, etc.
Very
when they have
interesting.
to when they have to do difficult tasks like goal setting, planning the next day, etc., etc. But what else? What apart from this? Because this is a huge, it's a superpower. If you can enjoy what you do, it's a superpower. So you are blessed by God's grace to have that. But apart from this, what else? What has been your secrets of success?
I think seat at the table mindset, Amit. Honestly, um, I've not waited for permissions to be strategic. Uh, One of the things I think you have seen multiple profiles, and you did say that um, there's an early on that head of HR, right? So how did that come in? Of course, early on, the choice that I made was that understand business as well as any business leaders. So the PNL pressure that we take, if you're going to say that it's only a salesperson's job, then that's not really aligning with the business, right? So what do you understand? The talent gaps, the market dynamics, because the moment you speak the language of the business, you are a true partner, right? And the shift changes everything. So I think for me, apart from what I love, I do, and I love my job, is that to be the real strategic partner in every sense, not really waiting for permission to be told what is required from HR, but proactively say that, hey, look, these are the gaps that I can see from where I am. And important for us as leaders to take that collective call to drive that kind of gaps identification and then the solution for it. So I think one of the things that I would say the success would be for me is that I've always sat at the table, um, with the belief that from the human potential side, we are the SMEs, right? We are the we experts here. And of course, from business. So, how do you marry that knowledge, business with human, and then bring out the solutions? So, I would really say, yeah, sit at the table. Don't wait for somebody to tell you be strategic. We have to be strategic.
Very powerful. So HR is now a strategic partner. They have business understanding. They are technologically oriented because the AI and all, they are the ones who can bring in this transformation. And
Yeah,
they are into numbers because they do data analytics. So HR
absolutely.
analytics, you can predict who is going to resign when, or the likelihood of a person resigning, looking at the data and so many other information which business heads, and you have the human touch where
Yeah.
it's it's so exciting. So coming back to the business part of it, see when I started my career, like you said that wo rangoli banani hai to go, go to so that time because it was manufacturing services had just started. It was more of a manufacturing setup where
Of
HR was
course.
most into IR.
All functions would have gone through the arc, right? I'm sure even manufacturing went through the arc. For us also, we've gone through the arc.
Correct. So that time HR was considered to be a support function. Now,
Absolutely.
now it's a business function because of all these factors: the business understanding, the analytics, the technology. So, a young professional who's just starting his or her career, what are the apart from the domain knowledge in HR? What are the other things? Like you said, the mindset is very important to be a strategic mindset. What are the other things which may not be a part of the HR course right now that he or she should be open to or explore with an open mind?
Yeah, yeah. I think in terms of definitely understand the business. That's what I would start from, right? So you could be in pharma, you could be in FMCG, or you can be in agri-chemical like me.
Mhm,
Um, when I was part of IT organization, I understood that business. And
mhm.
then when I moved into an organization, current organization, I do understand the business. So I think first and foremost is to understand the business. That's when we'll be able to talk the language that I was just speaking about. Correct. The other thing definitely is to learn AI.
Okay,
There are still professionals, and not just in HR, across the board, who think AI is not something they need. It's for other functions, etc. I think AI is another place that we need to be in. How do you analyze the data, which we just said? So I think that is one of the biggest superpower that we can bring, right? So what does the data talk to me? Because a lot of business leaders would know the data, but they don't know what the data is talking.
correct,
So look at that gaps and look at the probably a framework, say 2 or 3 years, and say where your headcount is moving, where your attrition is moving. And those are some things that you can bring in, right? One of the traps that I would suggest to avoid is that sometimes we become very comfortable in being transactional.
correct,
So when you're starting in, it's very important that you learn operations. And let me tell you, all your strategies are always based on a strong base of operations. So don't get me wrong. Please don't negate operations. It's one of the strongest, and we should know our transactions and operations. But as we move forward, we should not be comfortable there. So we should be able to oscillate between operations and strategy. Like it's like the dance floor and the balcony. So dance floor is where the operations happen, and it needs to go on for people's energies. It's to give all employee experiences. But for us to start getting those opportunities to have a view from the balcony as well. And I think that trap I see a lot of youngsters being, getting comfortable in. They are like, okay, deliberately let me just do what I'm doing. It's okay. I will continue with operations. I'm doing so well. But I think complexity is where your potential gets unleashed, right? So how much of a complex problem can you solve? These are some things, if done in advance, you will see, while it looks hard, right? Who wants to face challenges? But if
correct.
you take these challenges head on, then that's where that magic happens.
So why do you say, see, many people in our interaction during our workshops also, people don't challenge themselves or they are scared of challenge. One
Yeah.
is that they don't have the vision. So another is this lack of self-belief and all those issues that we handle. But another reason, I mean, one reason that lack of self-belief could be helped by mentors and having that career
Yes.
plan. Because once you have a career plan, then you're open to taking up challenges. So, how important is it for a youngster to have that vision to take up complex tasks to get out of the comfort zone by having a mentor who would prepare that person to, be open to that?
I think let me say two things. One, for the individual themselves is to take certain projects, and how do you move from operations to strategy, right? Start taking some projects that are complex, start working cross functionally, collaborate with a, so that's something that you can do for yourself. Now, figure out a mentor for yourself for sure. Okay. And mentor is something very, very important because they have seen they have the experience more than you, and you can really learn from that experience. But another thing that is a gear changer for everybody is a sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
Sponsors are people who will talk about you in a room full of people. If there is a role that is getting your name discussed, then that sponsor will be in that room to validate that, yes. And how do you make a mentor or more than a mentor can be assigned by HR or the line manager. But a sponsor comes with you working consistently across the board for number of years. So that's when the trust is built that yes, if that role or that opportunity or the project is given to that person, it's for sure getting done. So I think it's also important to have sponsors, and that comes in with your networking, that comes in with working on these projects that we just mentioned. But of course, I mean, mentors are equally important because they are your seniors, right? Mostly you get mentors from your own field who've done. So that experience learning is very important. And you can, I mean, there are so many mentors who are easily giving, saying, hey, look, I went through this, but I want to give you a lot more insight so that your career journey can be smoother than mine. So I think these are a couple of things that we start telling our younger, and this challenging constriction that you have that, oh, I don't want to challenge myself, I'm comfortable. That mindset can be only changed with leaders coming in and giving the right directions.
Correct. And everybody is good enough to reach the top. Sometimes we put restrictions on ourselves that because I'm not good enough to reach there. Why do I work hard or anyway I'll fail subliminally?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, in my experience, I've seen this a lot with gender, right? Diversity. A man is 70%, 75 ready. Also, he'll be like, okay, let me go. But a woman 80, 85 also saying, oh, well, will I be able to do it? Will I? So how do you change this, right? It's like go and give yourself a chance, and you don't know what wonders you can do.
Correct. Correct. So some examples you would like to share. See, one thing is that having a sponsor or a mentor is only possible when you do good job, even with the operational tasks that you are doing. Because in
Absolutely,
the starting, you'll only get those operational tasks. So unless you impress others with the operational
absolutely.
tasks. So some examples you would like to share how you got help from mentors, sponsors because of the work you are doing.
Uh, See, I think the idea is your roles will change, your managers will change, but what's your core? So figure out, there's a self-awareness that is required. What are you as a professional? Correct? For me, responsibility, consistency is very, very important to me as a person. So when I'm dealing with somebody, I give that experience. As a leader, I also expect that back in return. Okay. So let's work with a lot of trust, responsibility, and consistency. These are few things that has helped. Now, also shower in some wow things in between once in a while, right? So for example, I'll tell you, when we started, I've been here for now 7 years. um, Women in commercial is very less, especially in agrochemical, right? Because geographies are large, traveling is not really easy. So we started with a small thing with business leaders saying, let's bring in some freshers from college, male female equal distribution. But if they are good in the 1 year that they spend as sales trainee with us, we will bring them on board, right? So they were with us as sales trainees for a year, but if they performed well and they did, and we had positions, of course, we now that kind of initiative worked so well that we started with At one point in time, with 2 people, today we have 9 women.
Very nice.
Similarly, very good talent pool, right? Not just for women, but very good talent pool. Now, these are some wows that you'll have to add in from your end.
Very nice.
And that, how does that come? You have to push the envelope. Every time you'll have to ask, you'll have to see what the business gap is and then give your ideas and then also execute it. Right? Execution is another big thing. I've seen people make amazing strategy on paper, but when it comes to execution, it really doesn't match what you've promised on paper. Now, again, that's a breach of trust.
Correct.
I've promised something, but I didn't deliver. So you create your mentors and your sponsors by being consistent, by really taking up the responsibility, and once in a while send some spark of wow their way, so they know that you're the best person for the job.
Very nice. So, but that business had listened to you only because you would have impressed with your strategic mindset, with your desire to make a change in business, because your comfort level with the business numbers, right? So you are good.
Of course, why would they listen to me if I didn't have everything else, right? And of course, there have been failures. We've tried certain things, but then the honesty of saying, "Hey, look, this time this didn't work." People, on top of everything, speak the most loudest when you're authentic.
Correct.
So if you have to make your seat at the table, you have to be authentic. Even if it doesn't matter if you're a senior or a junior, please be authentic. Give that extra, 1 or 2 hours of work. Go back to people and say, hey, look, I really don't understand this. Can somebody, and there are more than enough people. But if I'm going to go into a meeting and say, I know everything, and then present something that doesn't align, then of course people are not going to trust me, right? So be authentic. If you don't know something, ask for help. Nobody's judging you. But the minute you say something and you do something else, then that doesn't work.
Very powerful. So, apart from taking up projects, Deepali, how else can a young HR professional know more about business? What do they need to do?
Talk as much as you can with cross-functional teams. If you are in a business like mine, then you have to understand production supply. You have to, understand R&D. So when I was a business partner a few years back, because I was a business partner, I could travel, I could speak with people. There were meetings where I was invited, right? I would block a certain section of time to speak to people one-on-one. And then tell them, look, I'm not from science background, but I'm the HR person of a science company. So can you help me understand this? Can you demystify this in common language? And experience and conversations are the best ways. How do you get the experience? You travel, you go to the real places where business is happening. Even if you're in IT, go into certain sales meetings that are happening. How do you sell your product? How do you sell your solutions, etc.? In a company, in a organization like mine, you have to go to the fields. You have to go to meet the growers, and experience is something that teaches you about the business. And the second is, how curious are you? How courageous and curious you are to ask the right questions. Ask them number of times and show your curiosity. There was a time that because my leaders knew and my span knew that I'm curious, they would invite me saying, hey, do you want to learn this?
Very nice.
And so I think that is something that there's no shortcut to hard work. I mean, there is nothing that you can't learn business overnight, right? So you will have to bring in the works.
Very nice. And you have to show that inclination. So you are open to go out in the field in a rural agricultural kind of a product that you have. So this is so powerful.
Yeah. And you have to go where the business is happening, and those opportunities will come to you. Even if you're a junior or just starting out, those opportunities will come to you, provided you ask the right questions, provided you show the right intent that I'm willing to do that extra work.
Correct.
I'm willing to go because I want to learn.
Very powerful. So we have talked about taking up complex tasks, enjoy what you do, having the right mindset of being a strategic partner, having that seat at the table, uh, understanding business, understanding technology, AI, and challenge yourself, just attend projects, have a mentor or maybe a sponsor, and understand your core, your self-awareness. What are you? And then various ways in which you can talk to business, understand business. What else? Anything else you would like to suggest to these youngsters?
I think sometimes in HR, at least it happens, and I can talk about that function with 18 plus years of experience. I feel that we put in a ceiling for ourselves, right? But that ceiling is not there. It's what we've created for ourselves. So how do you kind of really claim that potential, right? Be brave enough to be strategic, curious to understand business, and to understand that uh, we have to learn business, but we also have to be human enough to know that anything that we do will really impact a person's life or a career. Correct? So, and we have a job, but it's a remarkable one. We've got to take a lot of pride in what we do because none of the other functions touch human lives and careers as much as we do. Correct? And please be agile and flexible to change your ways. So, supposing if one thing is not working, let's not say, hey, this is what happened. Understand the context, bring in the right integrity piece, and then be agile to kind of make those solutions there for people. Right. So I think these are some really ingredients to success if you want to make it in HR as a domain. It's
Can
a very interesting field.
some examples you would like to share where you changed your way of working, you had that agility, flexibility, and you changed industries also. You went from
I
one.
did. I did. I think for me, that was one of the biggest chances I took with my career. I was doing very well in IT, but after 9 years, 10 years of experience, I said, hey, look, if I want to learn, you just quickly go and give something. It's like exercise, right? The minute you change your exercise regime, your body and your mind just goes out. So
Correct.
same for this. I changed my domain and I started working with very different set of people, very different business, and that I learned a lot in career. Where do I be flexible? I was a business, so I've started my career with talent acquisition. I then got business partnering after a lot of telling people that I can manage business partnering. Please give me at a younger age. Joined as a business partner here, and then there was a head of talent acquisition that was up for opportunity. And frankly, if you know people who've done human resources for some time, and TA is a place where it's like sales, right? So people are little saying, oh, do I want to take that pressure? But I think road less traveled. One of the biggest journey of learning that I had was these two shifts, changing the domain from IT to maybe agri-chemical, and then shifting gears again from HR to talent acquisition. So you really, that flexibility, right? Saying that, oh, I could have easily said, and I did have a conversation with my mentor saying, I'm doing well as business partner. Do I really want to go into talent acquisition? And the idea was to really soundboard and say, no, that's what's going to help you grow. So how do you, push yourself and then be flexible to take that opportunity?
Right.
Correct. Business wise, of course, multiple places. Every time there's a list of promotions that come at the end of the year, we have a lot of challenging conversation, and then sometimes they change, sometimes we change. Correct. Sometimes they understand that there is a cost, there is an ROI that we've got to think of, and all the questions that are asked are important. But sometimes we've got to understand that this year the year is different, the markets are different, we've got to control attrition. So let's do this for the employees so that we can retain them. um, the flexibility of saying money and compensation is not the only way to retain people. Culture is one of the biggest things that people stay back for.
Correct.
So how do you make that culture for people to say, hey, look, I'm valued and I get what I need as an employee?
So
Again, very challenging, Amit, to
how
change
to
and bring that culture.
how to have those challenging conversations? So you prepare beforehand when you.
Yes, yes. The only way to talk to business is data.
Very nice.
The only way to, and I mean this, there is no fancy conversations you can have with them. You will have to do a structured workings with yourself, with analysis. How many years back? What's the attrition? What's the ROI? What's the people cost? What is, so you'll have to take all parameters and if you give them that, they will understand that you're coming from. So your challenging conversations you can do and win with data.
Very nice. Very nice. So you need to be a better self-planned person so that you manage your own task and then spend time in data analysis and preparation that how are you going to speak, what are you going to speak. So you have to be very well planned and organized person and be good at your job.
Yes, there is something called I don't know if you've heard of that. I'm sure you're in consulting and training, so you've heard that, right? So if you take a jar of glass and you put bigger stones first inside and then put the sand, but if you put the sand first and then the bigger stones, then it's never happening, correct? So what are your priorities? You have to understand that, follow that 80-20 rule, that this 20% of my task actually has 80% of impact. So one has to plan like that. And I tell my team as well, please don't go without analysis of the data, because then they're just going to tell you, I need this. I'm losing 15 people, I need this.
Correct.
But and yes, data analysis time only comes if your time is freed up from operations. And that will happen with planning, like you're saying.
Would you like to share some example? I have so many questions bubbling up inside, but would you like to share some example on how, because of your data analysis, you were able to change the mindset of the business leader, or maybe able to make them look at things in a new way? Any example?
Yeah, no, every day. I mean, every day there is a way of looking, and so like I was just mentioning, the sales training kind of a thing, right? So that is like an extra cost, correct? In a business which is always challenged for budget, they'll be like, why should we invest? Bring us some trained professionals. Um, but when we did that in a small section of team, and they saw the kind of talent pool that was there, the kind of quality of people, the kind of trainings we could give to that set of people, sales trainee, they understood that that investment actually is making sense for them for future.
Correct.
Obviously, in a talent that you invest really young, you're not going to get return very fast. Your investment is also going to be higher, money, time, but that data that we could take to them, correct, they really understood that that investment is important if we want to continue to have a very good pool to dive into. That's one example. Always attrition is an example.
Okay.
They'll keep telling you year on year that, look, we are losing people. But we are losing people on what? How is their performance? Were they, excellent raters that we've missed, or we've let go of people who are, because a healthy attrition is always good.
Correct.
That changes your blood, correct? It changes, brings some fresh air into the whole churn. So again, that kind of conversation, they will always panic and say we are losing people. But when you show them the bigger picture, like, look, in the last bracket of 3 or 4 years, you're not losing as many people. Few you're losing. Again, when you're losing those, you're actually bringing good talent.
Correct.
This is your cost difference, right? So when you had these people, this was your cost. But when you got new, your refresh cost is this. Now, with that cost, you're getting some capabilities as well that you didn't have in your. So these are some conversations, multiple. I mean, we have to have these multiple data centric analysis based conversation with business all the time to get anything done in terms of investment, budget, hiring, not hiring, why should we not hire, etc.
So how should a HR professional plan his or her week? So looking at data analysis, who should they ask? So how do they train their team maybe, or how should they go about it? Or set 1 hour or 2 hour every once in a weekday that this is the time when I'm only going to look at data. How should they go about it?
I think on a Monday morning or on a Sunday evening, whatever looks good to you, please figure out in this week your calendars are
Okay.
set, right? So those are some important brackets that you can't move.
Mhm.
Beyond that, add an hour or two in that week to work on your projects.
I understand.
Because your projects otherwise will go into the back burner because they are never burning, correct? Set up your first half of the day or the second half to do only operations, because we can't move away from it. So somebody needs FNF, somebody needs help in doing something else, etc. So you block that time, right? And Last but not the least, there has to be 3 or 4 hours in
We
a week where you're actually working on the data.
very
Even if it means, now the systems are very, so it's not like you have to churn the data from the beginning, right? You get a file and then, but to work, I tell my team that very often, that one has to know where your headcount is, one has to know where the attrition is, what is the hiring that is happening, what are the replacement. So those you will only be able to do if you plan some time out. Otherwise you'll only do it as a responsive way. There's fire from the business, so to put water on that, you're just suddenly analyzing everything. But if you do analyze your data and have some hold over it, then it's easy to go back to the business whenever there's an escalation, because in our job every day there is going to be a new curveball thrown at us. But if your base is set, then it's not very difficult to really answer to the business in the way that we give them a direction to go into, especially in the people matter. So one has to plan a week, and to-do lists are very important. I'm like that, very traditional. I have my to-do list either on a chat or somewhere. I will keep writing that this is what I need to do, this is important, etc. So one has to plan, and planning is everything, Amit.
So to the young listeners who are watching or listening, see, this is how, unless you plan, you are proactive. It's very difficult to get those things which are on the back burner. See, you also mentioned earlier that you pushed your business head to hire some girls in the sales role, and it turned out very well. Now, in our workshops, see, it's very easy to make boys productive because they waste so much time. During the day, they'll go out on cigarette breaks, coffee breaks. At night, they'll spend so much time on, watching reels or OTT or whatever. But when you talk to girls, they are anyway so productive. So for boys, it's very easy for us to rewire their brain to help them take out 2 3 hours every week on planning and what you are just mentioning, being proactive. But girls, it's a challenge, and how do we do that? Because they are anyway so productive. They look after their household duties. They teach their kids, and cooking also. Even if there might be some help, but they have to spend time. Unlike the most of the boys, though it is slightly changing. So how come girls are so productive? What do they do? Or is it the
I
mindset?
think first, I want to reach an idealistic world where we are all looked at humans and not in the bracket of boy and girl. That's the first. But second, by gender, of course, multitasking comes easy to women. That's a researched fact. So it's not something that I'm saying we are better than the others. It's a way our brains are wired. But let's not get into who can plan better. I think planning is important for every human. Now, why is planning important is, let's go to the end goal. What's your goal? Is your goal just to hold a job and get money? Then fair, you can do what you're doing, take breaks, watch your OTT, etc. And but is your goal to reach somewhere? Do you know where you want to be in 0 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, and long term? One of the things that I have to thank my mentors is that through those conversations, I always understood where I want to go. And I was very sure I want to go somewhere. And hence that kind of dedication. And doesn't mean I didn't watch OTT, I binge watch. But when there are dedicated 8 9 hours of work, I think if we do slot that for the task, and again, like we were talking about, in a day, what is it that you want to achieve? See, one, there is a goal that you
Correct.
want to go towards. So that's your North Star. But in a week, what do you want to achieve? In a day, what you want to achieve? We'll have to start thinking in those lines. Otherwise, everybody has 24 hours.
Correct.
People are not going to get extra hours, right? So let's define what's important for us, where we want to go in terms of the goal. And then from there, plan each day, each week, each month. And believe me, if you're in any format a little restorative, if you see a week, you'll see, oh wow, these are few things that I achieved, and do celebrate. So on a Saturday or a Friday evening, I will reflect that, hey, look, I had planned this in a week and I've achieved it, and I do feel good about it. So I deserve a break for the evening. And if I have not, then that's a learning, that what took my time this week and how can I do better, etc. But one has to keep an eye on where are we going, what is it that we are achieving. In 6 months, review what you've done. In 3 months, review what you've done. That's the way. I mean, ek hota hai, you'll put a goal for yourself and then forget about it and review it in December. You put it in Jan. The other is you strategically work towards it. See where are you aligned to that goal? Do you have to make some shifts? Do you have to change that goal? And if you have to make some changes, then make those changes, but move towards a certain direction that you've planned for yourself.
Very nice. It's very, very powerful. The policy, because it's self-awareness, that vision. Because see, 70-80% of the tasks are repetitive and may not be, everybody may not be as blessed as you to enjoy what you do. But if you have a goal that this is where I want to reach, like you said, then it becomes easier.
Yeah, and some of us are starting, so we can't delegate. Some of us are mid-management. Please understand, delegation teaches others as well on how to deliver, what to do. So do that delegation, but don't delegate mindlessly. Delegate with power, empowerment, etc. But one has to know the goal, right? And in a year, what are we set to achieve? And we'll have to keep breaking it down, keep reviewing it, and really understand that are we moving in the right direction or not?
Very nice. So a person who's starting his or her career, how should they plan their career? So I have to spend, should I go into talent acquisition first, or should I go into HRBP, or should I go into comp and benefit? How do, or they, it's only 2, 3 which they can maybe, go deep in the first 3, 4 years, and how should one go about it?
Amit, my first suggestion to all the newcomers is do what you get. Please don't, let's not get strategic right at the beginning of our careers. Please do what you get.
Okay.
If you've got CNB, learn the depth and breadth of it. If you've got talent acquisition, learn the depth and breadth of it. If you've got, like when I started, I was not supposed to start in talent acquisition. I went through a certain dip. I'm a pass out of 2008. So, there was a recession at that time. It was a huge recession. So I was a fresher out of my MBA with no job. So I had to just pick up what I got. And I was so desperate that I didn't have the luxury of saying I want to start business partnering, because when I was studying, I did want to start with business partnering. So I think in the first few years, which is maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years of your start of your career, you should do everything that you get. And please pick up as much more work as you can. The more hard work that you do at the start of your career, the more you're going to reap benefits a little later. So in my case, I didn't have the luxury, but I think it's one of the best things that happened to me. One of the best. I passed out at a year that I couldn't have asked for choices. I had a job offer which they didn't really, adhere to. So fresh out of college with everything shut, I had to look for a job for myself. And then I had to do everything that I was given to me. Because at that point in time, I was like, as a fresher, let me start at least somewhere. So I think my advice to everybody who's starting new in HR is it's okay. Just start. And of course, have a goal. I want to do CNB more. I want to do HRBP more. And it'll come to you. But at the start, please do whatever comes your way, because no knowledge is going to go wasted. It's only going to build what's coming up for you later in your career.
Or should it be like this thing that initial first 2 years they be good at what they do, but they also start taking up projects in different subdomains of HR, and later they start taking more projects in business side? Would that be the right way?
See, like I said, depends on the opportunity you have. Right now, for example, let's say you're starting with talent acquisition, and that's not where you want it to be, but that's what you've got. So please do that, learn that. Along with that, when you're doing, nobody is stopping you to pick up projects of business. You have to learn. I mean, there's no later, or you have to learn from day one. So, and that takes time. So you please start learning the business from day one. But yes, can I top it up with a project? So I'm working in talent acquisition, but I can, speak with a CNV person and say, hey, look, can I help you with the salary analysis of market? That's a CNB topic, right? Nothing in HR is like blocked. It's all percolating. Everything helps everything else.
Correct.
So that would be my suggestion on how to go about it.
Very nice. And let's say a person with 4, 5 years experience reaching mid-level, what should they do? What would be your advice?
In that case, if you've really done an arc of starting operations, learning your and then now you want to shift gears. So for me, I was in talent acquisition and I wanted to shift gears to business partnering because that's where I wanted to. And 5 years of my initial start, I've done talent acquisition, and I raised my hand. It's the most courageous thing that I did for myself, because you're young, you're like, oh, I know talent acquisition. Who's going to take a chance on me to do business partnering? But I raised my hand. Every conversation that I had with my manager, I was courageous enough to say, hey, look, can you help me now? I've done 5 years, I've done a good job. Now, can you help me move into another direction? I want to change a direction. And they did. I got a project first, I did that well, and then I got a proper role.
Very nice.
So I think but like I said, right? So in the beginning, you probably are not clear, but keep a goal. You can change that goal, but even in the start, keep a goal. Where you want to be, you should always know, and then review it every 1 or 2 years. That yes, now with new knowledge and experiences, my goal have changed, which is okay. But if we just start working and not have any place to be or direction, then it becomes a little difficult.
I think, like you rightly said, have conversations with people, talk to people. You may not have all the information, but gradually you'll.
Experiences, get as many experiences as you can with leaders, with team below, talk to people, work on projects. I think these are some ways that you will. Hands-on learning is very, very, you can't, I mean, you're in solutions and trainings, right? So you know how important it is to do hands-on work.
Correct. So, should one also take business assignments, business tasks at mid-level or higher?
See, business assignments in collaboration. And by the way, there are enough and more people who can change from HR to finance, HR. So that also is possible, okay? And business to marketing, by the way, HR to marketing. I have people who I've seen who move from career. And how did they learn that? They learned that because they got some exposure into marketing and saying, hey, look, I could do this as well. So, again, I wouldn't randomly suggest for you to keep taking projects. Okay. If HR is where you want to be, then please take projects within HR. But yes, if you need cross-functional, right? So for example, I'm doing an analysis on hiring. I will need data from external market. I will also need data from internal. So I'll have to talk to HR. I might at some point in time reach out to finance as well to understand that, hey, look, this is the cost, overall cost knowledge you have. So where does this fit in? Now, those conversations will open certain doors.
Correct.
If finance is your place. But business learning, I would encourage. Projects, I would encourage for you to take, provided you know that's where you want to go, or that's an experiment that you're doing. For example, for me, I always knew I want to be in HR. So it's the projects that I did within HR, of course, with business business being incremental to those projects.
Correct. Very nice. Some more examples on those experiences which helped you, out of the way experiences which helped you in your career, those conversations which were not planned, or which you took a risk, or that hunger, that curiosity to learn, you had that experience, and which really gave you insight into something which wasn't planned earlier.
I think one of the conversations that I remember that potentially changed my career was that I had been an individual contributor for very many years of my life, and in 2021 or 2020, yeah, 2021, I think there was a head of talent acquisition open, and one conversation that helped me is that I spoke with a business leader, and that person showed confidence in me, saying, of course you can do this role, because I was self-doubting, saying I have not done leadership positions yet, can I manage a team? And that it was a big team at that point in time. So from an individual contributor to manage a team of 12 was looking like a daunting task. So I think, like you rightly mentioned, those investments that you do in your relationships. And see, look, you can't do everything with relationship, huh? It has to be marred with a lot of business knowledge, inputs, etc. But those relationships that you make can have those impacts on your career at some point in time. And you can't do relationship thinking this is the benefit I will get. You have to invest, and at some point in time it will talk back to you when it's the right time. So I think conversations, you were mentioning, is one very, very important thing. Um, have the right sounding board, Amit. When you grow, it's very lonely at the top, by the way. So, who are your sounding boards? It could be somebody within the organization, it could be somebody out, professional relationships that you've made who can actually tell you what's the right thing to do at some point in time, and what are those sound advices that you need. Because I'm a strong believer that there is always a power in team and collaborative working. So a one person thinking I can do everything, I don't think that's the right way. For me, I believe in that, dipping into other people's thoughts, including questions that are probably I can't think of, but others can. And that will happen with me having those authentic conversations.
Correct. Very powerful words, Deepali. See, another thing is how to achieve that consistency. The world is moving so fast, and it is becoming that support of joint families and less traffic, less pollution. Because all these things they work on your mind. Even in Pune, uh, traffic. It's such an idyllic city earlier. So then those challenges and every day to be able to bring in that consistency, irrespective of how you are feeling, how to achieve that. Does the goal setting, does the vision help in that, or are there other tools to be that consistent?
Don't get me wrong, it's there are days that we are going to be not motivated, and frankly I tell my team, take a break that day, it's okay. So one, first be kind to yourself, but the only way to get there is the vision and the goal. At least that's what I would believe, because and self awareness about yourself. Okay, so understand what are your strengths. That's another thing that I see people lacking these days. You apply for a role and you think that's what I should get, but you're not really aware of the self awareness that how you're perceived in the business arena. What is your leaders thinking about you? What are your own strengths? uh, I'm very aware of my strengths and what I bring to the table. I'm equally aware of the areas that I need support for. And I'm not scared to juggle both. I will bring my strength where I'm supposed to. And when there are some areas that I can't, for example, business, right? Whatever said and done, I will need another partner with me to really give me sound advice. And I will bring that person to partner with me
Correct.
in a project or in a decision, right? I'm not so self awareness is another critical thing along with vision and goal. You can't have and the other thing is, please have your goals, the smart goal. Right now I'm going to sit here and say I want to go to the moon. Now that can happen if I'm working towards it. So let's not say I want to go to the moon and leave it at that. Now if you want to go there, then what are those steps that you're taking to go there?
Correct.
So have those goals that are very smart. They're very specific, they're measurable, they're actionable, because without action, nothing will happen.
Correct.
And they are very, very smart in teams of time, right? There's a time bound. So in 3 years, I want to be there. In 2 years, I want to be here. So I think vision, goal, and self-awareness. If you were to ask me, I do like to simplify things. And I think these are three things that will really, really help anybody. It's
These
a
are very,
tried and tested method.
these are very powerful words, Deepali. So, what about self-awareness, SWOT analysis? What tools to use? How can they be self-aware? Because I come with my own baggage, my own
Yes.
blockages, my own complexes, and I'm not aware of because it's subliminal. So, how can one aware be aware? For example, I was very surprised to know that some time back I was suffering from huge inferiority complex, because of
Imagine.
which affected my relationships, though I'm a brain rewiring trainer.
Yeah, blind spots, right, Amit? So if you can have blind spots, everybody else can have, who's actually dealing with that blind spots. If you ask me, the most powerful tool is to do honest 360-degree feedback. See,
Okay.
I'm going to sit and think only about myself in that limited space, right? But if I ask my leaders, if I ask my peers, and if I ask my people who work as my direct reports or somebody who's a little junior to me,
Mhm.
if I ask these three brackets of people an honest feedback on a very, let's simplify that also. Ask what is good, what is it that I can do differently, and what is it that's difficult to work with me. So you work with me and I don't make your life. If you ask these three questions to these set of people, they will give you enough and more information provided you're open. Now, if I'm going to retaliate, so Amit has told me that Dipali is very difficult to work with, and I retaliate, then I'm not going to get the right feedback. But if I'm the person who's going to ask the right questions and really analyze, because I tell my team, feedback is a gift.
Correct.
Please take it up in holistic format, make pieces of it, understand, live with it, what's making sense. Some of it you might discard also. But overall, what are those things that people are telling about me? And what is it that I have to change? And basis that, then you ask for support. You might need some training, you might need some coaching, you might need some mentoring. But first, you've got to know. And I think 360 is the most powerful. Ask people around you.
Very nice. This is so powerful, Dipali, because see that humility and that ability to manage relationships, like you mentioned. See, difference between Amitabh Bachchan and Rajesh Khanna maybe in my time, or Sachin Tendulkar and Vinod Kamble, because they had those sounding boards, those relationships, which would have given them the right advice, not being the yes man. I mean, looking at the stature of these guys, so it's so powerful to have that relationship. These are really pearls of wisdom, which I'm sure people will be so benefited by.
Sure.
So we are coming almost close to the time limit that we have set. There are again so many questions, but a few last few questions. So what about people at the senior level? What do they need to do?
Yet people at senior level need to be open.
Very nice.
Sometimes because you spend 20 years, 30 years doing the same thing, you tend to become and say, I know it all. But I think at senior leadership, we've all got to be like sponge. Let's absorb, let's give back also as much. But please note, there is everything we don't know. So be inclusive and be open, inclusive to new ideas, new generations, AI, technology. So be inclusive and be open. I think these are two things because, of course, you've lived your arc, you know a lot, but you still don't know a lot more. So have that knowledge in the back of your mind. That's when you will continue to grow. Otherwise, all of us will hit a ceiling at some point in time.
Correct. So at senior level, especially in current in the world nowadays, those chances of encountering negative situations at work, at home, on the way, and which affecting your mind, and the work stress, which is getting with the disruptions, AI, and so many other technological changes. So how do you keep yourself relaxed? What are those tools which everybody can use to be relaxed and work towards the vision and the goal uh, they have?
Amit, everybody needs a recreation. So, and it could be very different from people to people. Again, there also self awareness works. What is it that's giving you the break from the, so we don't become the rat on the lab, constantly on a roll or on a wheel. Take the breaks, take your leaves. What's giving you the joy? For me, I have recently started a year old now Pilates, right? I really like to work out. So alternate days, that 1 hour is something that I start my day with. Um, I also like to spend time with my family. So I will make sure that I have that time where we are going out, we're stepping out into nature. So we are not robots. We will need these inputs to keep coming in to keep a balance at work. Um, so please, like, and again, what you were saying, planning, correct? If
Correct.
you plan, you can put all this into your calendar. But if you're working last minute, then of course you're stretched, you're working overtime, etc. And those phases will also come where you have to stretch. So at that time, please give that also if that's what the need of the hour is. But overall, plan for these breaks, plan for things that you love to do, and it doesn't have to be same as what I like,
Correct.
but have it. There's so much that people are doing, reading, painting, cycling, but those breaks will really give you the power to come back charged again the next day.
And like you said, be kind to yourself, appreciate
Be kind.
yourself.
Yes, that's something that one has to remember.
So on this note, we have crossed that our limit. See, we can go on, but we have to stay within the limits. So the time limit that we have
Sure.
set for ourselves. So thank you so much. Uh,
Thank you, Amit.
Deepali.
Nice talking to you.
This time it has been a pleasure,
Thank
and
you.
I'm sure people are going to benefit hugely with this interaction.
Sure. Thank you, Amit. Really nice talking to you. You have a fabulous day. Bye bye.
Bye.